Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Lucas, and this is the same day I'm recording the Ron Johnson video. Eric is not available today, but again, he'll be back tomorrow. And today we'll be taking a look. I decided to double record today. Decided to take a look at the 2021 New Jersey governor election. We are from the state of New Jersey. I hope we can give some information about this election. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So we'll be digging into why exactly we 100% believe Phil Murphy will be winning re-election. I shouldn't say 100%, but I'm pretty like 98% sure he will be winning re-election, no matter who the Republican nominee is. So first of all, Phil Murphy is a pretty popular governor, I want to say. He's handled the COVID-19 pandemic, according to people. He has handled it pretty decently compared to other governors. And he also is a Democrat, which is obviously very helpful in New Jersey. It's a pretty blue state. Uh, we voted decently to the left of the national popular vote this election, and we haven't voted for a Democratic presidential candidate in a while. And yes, we did have Christie. I'll be digging into that and why that type of anomaly is probably not going to be happening anytime soon again. On the Republican side, we do have some more stuff to dig into. I'll be skipping over Brian Levine because I don't think he has any chance of winning. Jack Citarelli, he is the current frontrunner right now. He's, a former member of the New Jersey State Assembly, and he did run for governor in 2017. I do remember that he lost against Kim Guadagno in the primary. Jack Citarelli, and I was thinking he had a higher chance before the debate. So recently there was a GOP primary debate for this governor seat, and he really tied himself closely, very surprisingly, to Christie. He called Christie the quote model governor, and that is a terrible strategy in New Jersey. If you're tying yourself that closely to Christie, and I'll pull it up right now. Christie, when he left office, had a 15% approval rating in the state, and there was a variety of factors. One was that he was leaving the state so much during his governor term to run for president, and serving as President Trump's, I believe he was the chair of the opioid commission or something. And we recently saw another poll with Christie only 17% of New Jerseyans actually would support or actually want him to run for president in 2024. We discussed this in a previous video. So this is a terrible campaign strategy. And I'll be digging into like the 2017 election too, where actually Kim Guadagno tried to distance herself as much as she could from Christie. Jack Citarelli is doing the opposite. That's not a good idea. Phil Rizzo, Jersey Rizzo, he has zero chance of winning. He's tied himself so closely to Donald Trump that he might, I don't think he win the primary, and I don't think he'd win the general election. Hearst Singh is now apparently the other candidate, main candidate who will be going up against, Jack Citarelli. I watched the debate as well. He did tie himself a little bit to Trump, which is definitely not a good idea. Donald Trump, he did terribly in New Jersey, and if you're trying to tie yourself to Trump, you can't win. You have to distance yourself as much as you can from Trump if you're a Republican in New Jersey trying to run. And as I said before, if people have asked me who is the best candidate Republican to run in this state, it's Tom Kean Jr. Like 100%, Tom Kean Jr. can probably win a statewide race. He came pretty close to defeating Tom Malinowski, actually, this election in New Jersey 7. It was a very tight election. He lost by about 1 percentage point. And this is despite the fact that Joe Biden won New Jersey 7 by around 10 points. So he's a very well-known figure. The Canes they're very well established and very associated with a moderate Republican family, which is what a Republican probably wants to do if they do want to win in the state. But Tom Kean Jr. did announce that he would not be running for re-election in the state Senate, or it might be state assembly. I don't remember which one. However, I do think it is a lot more likely he will be running for New Jersey 7 again against Tom Malinowski, instead of running for governor, because again, and I said this before, even if Tom Kean Jr. runs for governor, his chance of winning is like 10%, given New Jersey swinging to the left this much. And also Phil Murphy again is pretty popular at the moment. And again, zero chance of Phil Rizzo or Brian Levine And it's probably going to come down to either Jack Ciattarelli or Hirsch Singh, and it's becoming closer than expected. And Donald Trump has not tossed in his support yet for either candidate, and quite frankly, it might end up hurting the candidate whoever gets endorsed by him, not in the primary but in the general election, because of how much New Jersey does hate Donald Trump. And yeah, Brad Parscale endorsing Hirsch Singh, that's definitely not going to look good for him. But let's take a look now at the past. And I said 2017, Kim Guadagno, who was the lieutenant governor for Chris Christie, running against Phil Murphy. Phil Murphy defeated her by 14 percentage points, which was pretty expected, I gotta say, considering how unpopular Chris Christie was. Again, 15% approval rating. He was, absolutely terrible according to the people in New Jersey. And again, Kim Guadagno's strategy was distance herself as much as she could from Chris Christie, and it still failed. She still lost by a huge margin, but I will say if she did try to tie herself close to Chris Christie, she would have lost by way more, because really, Chris Christie was that unpopular. Yeah, and polling reflected the same thing. So again, New Jersey has swung way to the left. And I want to add that the reason why Chris Christie was even able to get into office in the first place was just because of John Corzine. John Corzine was a very unpopular incumbent governor. He was very much not well liked, and he was probably going to lose this election anyway. So this was, at the end of the day, a huge anomaly in New Jersey politics. Let's look at the 2020 presidential election now. Again, looking at this shift, for the first time in a very long time, Morris County flipped blue. Morris County was initially a very strong Republican stronghold, a very strong, a suburban place. But again, Joe Biden does very well in these suburbs, and he was able to carry the county pretty decently, actually. This is a 3-4 point margin. And quite frankly, I wasn't expecting Morris County to flip either, but looking at it now, it probably was possible because of how suburban it was. And this does, again, go to show Donald Trump is not welcomed here. He in many of these suburbs, he's not welcomed. And this is especially true now compared to before. 2016, Donald Trump was able to get the margin down to 14 points. He lost by 17 this time. So while we're talking about Donald Trump, let's talk about the 2018 Senate election, which I personally studied intensively, but we didn't have the channel back then. But this was between Bob Menendez and Bob Hugin. And Bob Menendez was a very, very unpopular senator. He almost actually he did quite poorly in his primary. He almost lost 40%. And Lisa McCormick, she was like a no-namer. She didn't even campaign. She didn't run any ads. No one knew who she was. She was just the anti-Menendez vote. And why? Bob Menendez was very corrupt. He was found, I believe, no, there was a mistrial. So it was a double mistrial. So he was found not guilty. He was acquitted on the charges of corruption. So he stayed in office. However, he ran against Bob Hugin. Bob Hugin ran a very moderate campaign, but, again, Donald Trump endorsed him. And many times Bob Menendez tied Bob Hugin very closely to Donald Trump, and it worked. And according to Chris Christie, and this is something that Chris Christie said, I remember him saying this after Bob Menendez was declared as the winner in 2018 during election night. He said, the people of New Jersey hate Bob Menendez. That's true, but they hate they hate Donald Trump more. And Bob Menendez had a 33% approval rating. 33. 1 in 3 New Jerseyans liked him. 2 of 3 didn't. But they hated Donald Trump more, and they decided to. And the quote here, I believe, was from I think it was Patch.com. It was a newspaper. The saying was, suck it up and vote for Menendez, because they really don't like Donald Trump. And this brings me back to the point that Hirsch Singh, getting even a little bit tied to Donald Trump is a terrible idea. Jack Ciattarelli tying himself to Chris Christie is a very bad idea as well. And with those factors, plus the fact of how blue New Jersey is, and along with the trend to the blue and Phil Murphy's, popularity, it's hard for me to believe that anyone other than Phil Murphy can win this election. Of course, things can change from now to this November. But for now, I'm pretty confident with the Phil Murphy victory. I think it's going to be a greater margin of victory compared to Terry McAuliffe in I probably pronounced that wrong. I'm sorry. In Virginia, we'll be covering that election probably tomorrow, actually, because we were doing New Jersey today. But it's gonna be for us. It's either gonna be likely or safe. I'm giving it like a 97, 98% chance of Phil Murphy winning. I might be overestimating it, but that's what I do think for now. And that is it for the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. And if you like our content, please subscribe. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow. See ya.